survivor of the storm. 15 years ago, I left everything I knew behind. My country, my comfort, my certainty. I didn't move for adventure. I moved for a chance to explore something new. With this new remote job, I could work anywhere in the world. No office, no boundaries, no ties holding me back. I was free, completely free. But freedom comes with a cost, because when no one is watching, discipline becomes everything. When there's no one to tell you what to do, you learn what you're really made of. Freedom requires character, self-discipline, strength, resilience. And that's where my story begins. When I moved to Thailand in 2009, I wasn't chasing peace or paradise. I was chasing stability, the chance to build a life I could be proud of. A year later, I became a father, and from that moment on, every decision carried weight. Discipline before philosophy. The company I worked for was 6 hours ahead. While my family slept, I worked. When they woke, I was still at the desk. Emails replaced silence. Deadlines replaced weekends. There was no after work, only work, and the quiet pressure to provide. I told myself it was strength, but it was fear. Fear of failing the people I loved. Still, I kept going. Because that's what men do. We endure, even when no one sees the cracks. I didn't know it then, but I was already living by Stoic principles. Self-discipline, duty, endurance. Not from theory, from necessity. Life without a safety net. Being an expat isn't the postcard people imagine. It's visas and paperwork, it's health insurance and deadlines, it's building a home while knowing it could all disappear with a single policy change. You learn to adapt fast, to control what you can, to stop wasting energy on what you can't. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Without realizing it, that became my philosophy. I couldn't control the world around me, but I could master how I responded to it. The weight of growth. Years passed. The company grew, and with it, my responsibilities. I had people who reported to me, people I reported to, and a family that needed stability above all. Every success carried pressure. Every new milestone demanded more. Discipline became my identity and my cage. I worked through illness, through exhaustion, through silence. The truth is, I wasn't being strong, I was being scared. Scared to stop, scared to let anyone down. Burnout doesn't arrive loudly. It creeps in quietly, like rust on steel. When the body fails, the mind learns. Then came 2022. 13 years in Thailand. By then, the company I'd been with when I first moved had run its course. Our paths had naturally diverged, and I'd stepped into a new chapter, joining a small startup in the field of health and wellness, and suddenly everything stopped. A medical emergency, a $25,000 life-saving procedure, peak COVID, hospitals full, visas, insurance, all uncertain. I was 47, lying in a hospital bed connected to machines, and for the first time in my life, completely still. No plans, no projects, no deadlines, just breath and fear. Marcus Aurelius at my bedside. Someone had left a copy of Meditations beside my bed. I opened it out of boredom and found clarity. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. I read those lines over and over. They didn't feel ancient. They felt written for me. All those years of control, routine, and discipline suddenly made sense. Stoicism wasn't an idea. It was the story I had been living all along. That hospital bed became my classroom. Those pages became my teacher, every line from Marcus Aurelius. Connected to something I had already endured. Every hardship had been a lesson in disguise, and for the first time, I realized I wasn't surviving. I was practicing philosophy, rebuilding with awareness. Recovery took time, but this time I didn't rush it. I started journaling, reflecting, reading. Discipline was still there, but it had changed shape. It was no longer about pushing harder. It was about living better. Self-discipline became self-respect. Focus became gratitude. Rest became strategy. The Stoics call it amor fati, to love your fate. And I did. Even the painful parts, especially the painful parts, because pain had become my teacher, and through it, I found peace. 3 years later. Now, at 50, I see the whole arc clearly, from a single decision to move abroad, to building a family, to nearly losing everything. Every step had purpose. Discipline built my career, endurance carried my family, and Stoicism gave it all meaning. 3 years after that hospital bed, almost to the day, I decided, now is the time to act on it. So I started my research, not as a lesson, as gratitude, because philosophy isn't what you read, it's what you live through. Enter 2025, another change, another decision. Everything I went through in 2022 changed how I saw life and myself. Lying there, with too much time to think and not enough control over what would happen next, I realized how deeply Stoicism had already guided me, long before I ever called it that. Those principles, discipline, focus, acceptance, carried me through what could have broken me. But earlier this year, something else happened. Another moment, another reminder that time isn't waiting for anyone. And I thought of all the excuses people make, the same ones I'd heard 1,000 times. I can't do that. I'm too old for this. It's too late to start. That wasn't going to be my story, because if Stoicism has taught me anything, it's that the right time is the moment you decide to act. So I took the leap. I built this channel, not for fame, not for validation, but to share what helped me rebuild my mind and my life, to pass on the wisdom, experience, and tools that turned chaos into clarity. I wanted to create something grounded, something real, a space where philosophy meets practice, where we don't just talk about being strong, we become stronger. And here we are, 1 month in, and this journey has already been an incredible one. Every message, every comment, every reflection shared proves that growth isn't tied to age, time, or circumstance. It's tied to choice, to action, to saying, yes, I can. Closing reflection. And remember the words of Epictetus. First, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. When I moved to Thailand, I didn't know who I would become. But life, and every hardship it threw my way, revealed it piece by piece. You can't always choose your circumstances, but you can always choose your character. If you're starting over, moving to a new country, facing burnout, or trying to hold it all together, remember, discipline isn't punishment, it's proof of self-respect. Break the pattern, choose awareness, live deliberately, and in the comments, write, I evolve. Because every time you endure, every time you rise, every time you stay calm in chaos, you evolve. If any of this spoke to you, if it hit home, even just a little, tap that like button. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because when you share something that moves you, you're not just helping them, you're reminding yourself of what matters. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your time and trust. Stay grounded, stay strong, stay true. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Marcus Aurelius. We spend years searching for meaning, debating what strength, peace, or virtue should look like, when the answer is always found in action. You don't need to talk about becoming better, you just need to start living like it. One choice, one breath, one moment at a time.